Hello, Zalto Live listeners. Before we get started, we wanted to let you know that more teachings from Zen monk Claude AnShin Thomas are available in his two books, At Hell's Gate, A Soldier's Journey from War to Peace, and Bringing Meditation to Life, 108 Teachings on the Path of Zen Practice. Both are available wherever books are sold, and all proceeds go to the Zalto Foundation, dedicated to promoting nonviolence, awareness, and positive change.
Hello and welcome to Zalto Live, the podcast featuring Zen Buddhist monk Claude AnShin Thomas, who will share with you his life experiences that includes not only military combat, personal violence, and addiction, but also healing, transformation, and the ongoing joy of everyday life. Please enjoy listening.
There haven't been any questions mailed in, so I'll be taking questions from the group directly today. But I wanted to share with you something. So one of the things that I've noticed is that when I bow, so as I move my hands into Gosho, it's I breathe in, and bowing, I breathe out. I just noticed it happens like that every time. It's just interesting. Question from the group. Yes, KG.
Warum ist es manchmal so schwer, etwas einfach nur zu tun?
Why is it sometimes, or how come it's sometimes so difficult to just go ahead and do something?
Yeah, because it is. I don't know. There can be a variety of reasons that our mind creates, but in truth it just is sometimes. And it sort of doesn't really matter. What's important to notice it, and then to just push through and do. And then we see if there's any truth in the stories that the mind was telling us. Question from the group. Yes, Getzigan. And then Robert.
What are the current requirements to study with you, Anshin?
Those haven't changed since, well, I don't know if this is exactly true, but I don't think they've changed since 20 years or 25 years. And I have exactly repeated them quite some time. There are some central ground rules, or some ground commitments. But then how those unfold depend upon the relationship between myself and the person. First, no intoxicant. Second, to no meat, fish, or poultry. Third, to have a disciplined sitting practice. First thing in the morning, last thing in the evening. And fourth, to be involved with a group. And if there isn't a group in the local area, a sitting group, then the discussion with me about starting one. To have regular contact with me, and some other things too. Oh yes, that's right. I was thinking about that. And to engage in one longer retreat with me, 10 days or more. If I'm on the street, then to make a commitment to at least one time come on the street with me, and then if I'm walking pilgrimage, to join with me. If it's a longer pilgrimage, to either join with me through the whole thing or for a minimum of 10 days. But all these commitments are not cast in stone. You know, I look at them in relation to the person, their circumstances, and their relation to me. I think that's it. Robert.
As a lay practitioner for 20 years, I tried the one breath after another thing, and I seem to constantly get lost during the day and have to come back.
Question.
Yes. Do you have a secret for that, keeping the one breath in mind and not losing it?
No secret. Yes, there's no secret. Commitment. And I think the point is, the commitment to be connected to the breath is strengthened through my awareness when I have lost contact with it. When I just bring myself back to my breath. And it's not necessarily the point to be intellectually cognizant that I'm in contact with my breath. Although that is the point in the beginning, in the early years, the first 50. But at a point, it becomes not so important to have an intellectual awareness of it. The very fabric of my life begins to reflect that I'm connected to my breath through my relationship with myself and the world which sustains me. Questions from the group? Yes, Genrai.
What do you think of this movement of manifesting your life, kind of connected with quantum physics? Does this work?
I don't think about it. It's not important to me. What's important to me is this.
Was mir
Right
wichtig
here.
ist,
Quantum physics is interesting. Chaos physics is even more interesting. And still, it's important to sit just to sit, walk just to walk, eat just to eat. And be cognizant of those commitments that I spoke with Getzigan about. To see what gets in my way, how my mind creates reasons. What's next? Instead of grasping for what's next. If I'm grasping for what's next, I'm not appreciating what's here. Question from the group. Kyodo.
What is the role of courage in practice, if there is one?
Well, there's courage, and then there's the idea of courage. Without courage, we can't practice. Because if we're wholeheartedly engaged in a disciplined spiritual practice rooted in self-reflection, we have to be willing or prepared to just fall right through ourselves. We have to be willing to embrace the unknown. And that's such a struggle for people. They're so desperately clinging to the idea of we gotta know, not knowing. Within the reality of not knowing, all things become them. But it takes great courage just to just let go. Now, because the mind says, well, if I let go of everything, then what is there? What happens to me? Immediately all those fears and the grasping starts to arise. Even under the impression of knowing, we don't really know. And then when the not knowing is shown to us, or rather our not knowing is shown to us, we're somehow surprised, disappointed, depressed, confused. In the heart of the unknown, those don't exist. I mean, they do, but they exist differently. Or rather, our relationship to them changes. So yes, great courage. Yes, Olivia. And then Miyoko too.
he was first.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Olivia, hold on just a second. Miyoko was first and then you.
Anshin, I'm wondering if you can remember or share something in the beginning of your practice or early days that was so important that today is not so important.
Everything that was remains. There's just new things constantly evolving. I'll say it like that. I'll give a specific example. So in the beginning, I was attached to the notion of recognition. I wanted the people whom I was studying with, peers and also facilitators, to let me know that I was on the right path, that I was doing things correctly. I still am, that's still important to me, but I don't need someone to tell me or remind me or I don't need someone else to remind me or encourage me. I have the capacity to do that myself. Yes. I don't need someone to say, hey, you do a good job. I need to know that, and I can say that to myself, and that's enough. When I do hear it, it's encouraging to me. When I hear that I haven't done so well, it's also encouraging. But in truth, I'm not so dependent on external sources. I have enough experience that I'm able to recognize myself. Olivia, yes.
It's very interesting what you just said about courage, because in the last days I had the phrase practicing the unknown in my mind all the time. And I noticed something I hate about myself, that I feel I need to be invited to discover new things, and otherwise I feel it's unsafe.
Question.
What can I do? Yeah, what can I do about that? I want to feel more safe about going into the unknown without feeling that I'm trespassing.
You speak pretty good German.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You can never feel safe. If I wait to feel safe before I step into the unknown, I'll never step into the unknown. Because my conditioning will always say, ooh, you don't know what's there. You know what's here. So you better stay here. Because you go out there, you step out there, ooh, it could get like really bad. You can't, there is only safety when we abandon the ideas of safety. And develop the awareness that we have the resilience, the strength, the capacity to be nourished by the unknown. Oh, Gabi.
What would you say is the difference between the need for approval and insecurity? I mean, they seem to be related to each other, but what would you say?
Well, need for approval and insecurity. If I'm essentially if I'm trapped in the suffering of insecurity and I'm not willing to work to establish a more conscious relation with that. No matter what anyone says to me, it won't matter. If I'm essentially insecure and somebody says, Anshin, you did a really great job, my insecurity is going to say they want something. They're just making that up. It's not really true. So insecurity, need for approval. Well, they can be interconnected. They're not necessarily the same. Confidence in myself, while approval is sometimes quite nice, it is unnecessary, and I do not do what I do to seek it. If I'm dependent upon approval to give me self-worth, to let me know that I'm somehow doing things okay, then I will lose myself, because I will be constantly compromising my ethics, my morality. I'll be compromising everything, seeking out those who will tell me what I want to hear. If healthy relations are based on my ability to know that I'm doing essentially okay and not dependent upon the approval of another, so I'm able to hear what I've done well and to hear also where I can improve. If I'm dependent upon approval, I will not listen to information on where I could improve. Question from the group. Yes, Grace.
Anshin, I'm wondering what has become clear to you recently?
Thanks for the question. I'm just laughing at my own mind and what it does with questions like this. My mind first did what my nose is on my face. What has become clear to me is that there is nothing more important than seeing the role of conditioning and the power that has in influencing individuals, groups, social structures, and to see how often people are attached to the notion that all the problems of the world are external. Therefore, all of the solutions to the world are also external. If I simply conform to the notions or demands of a particular society or group, family structure, then I'll be safe and accepted. What's become clear is how important it is to be willing to listen, to be able to see, and to not be dependent upon social structures or conformity for self-worth and for value. Questions from the group? Yes, Isabel.
Anshin, which experiences did you make with being excluded in some way, and the desire, the wish to belong, rather belong?
Yes. I would say I think the desire or wish to belong is what influenced me to join the military. It also influenced me to commit the acts of aggression that were part of being in a war. In some ways, I lacked the capacity to think for myself, under the impression that I was thinking for myself. I was unaware that there was no self. There was no self. This conforming to the social structure. Today, I'm not so concerned about that topic of being excluded, because if people don't respect me for who I am and what I represent, or how I am in the world, I'm not gonna compromise what I know to be true just to be accepted. People who appreciate me for who I am and what I represent, that's what's important to me. So excluded. So when I came back from Vietnam, because of the political climate in this country, I felt often excluded. Excluded not only by the people with whom I was going to university with, but from the tribe of former soldiers whom I had served with. Because I no longer could, with the experience of war, I could no longer support that. And still I was being held responsible for all of those decisions. I was being held responsible for the war because I'd been a soldier in it. And still because of my relationship with the world, which I'm a part of, and my questioning of social structures, the necessity or value of them, I'm still often excluded. It's not so important to me anymore. To be included is not so important. Now, I don't do what I do just to be against. I do what I do because it's important to do it. Question from the group. First, Natalie, and then Robert.
My question is, how would you define or explain healthy relationships?
Oh, I don't make an effort.
Yes.
Really, because And people are constantly looking for these formulas. If this, and this are in place, that's a healthy relationship. And it may not be. Those things might be in place and it may not be. Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of relationships in a specific form, I think it's incredibly outdated. I mean, think about this. There was a period not so long ago when for you to have a healthy relationship required you to be subservient. You as an entity, a female entity, had no value or worth unless you were connected with a male partner. You couldn't get a job, couldn't have an independent bank account. You had no, you didn't exist as an entity in a sense. Your role was decided, and that's where your value was. And if you surrendered to that, then that was considered a healthy relation. When I see that, even now, it's really, my heart just aches. I don't know what a healthy relation is. I mean, I know for me what that would look like. And even then, it's not cast in stone. I think there does need to be certain things there in common. I mean, certain things in place. There needs to be certain shared values. As long as intoxicants are involved, I don't think it's possible to have a healthy relationship because intoxicants keep people away from their higher selves. But really, there isn't a formula. And it's true about life. You know, we're looking for the 10 things that will support a successful lifestyle. You go to the bookstore, you'll find 20 or 30 books with those 10 or 15 things. Maybe just 3. I remember decades ago, I was invited to some sort of conference in Berlin. And there was another US American there. He was not a Buddhist practitioner, but he'd written a book on similar kind of topic, the essential practices for a successful life. And this guy was wearing body armor, and he had a bodyguard because he'd received letters from a person who said that he followed his book suggestions precisely, and his life collapsed, and he was going to come get him. It's not there. You won't find it there. I can tell you, this way of living is the best in the world. I have a map. I present you that map every time we meet. That map is a guide to liberation and freedom, but you have to navigate it. I can't do that for you. No one can. And it's not about these 10 easy things. It's really about waking up. And that's really centered around what prevents us from waking up. The grasping for certainty, for acceptance, for approval. The drive to conform. The fear of rejection, of not fitting in. I was on pilgrimage with Kenshin and some others. We were being hosted in a particular town in the Midwest of the United States. Catholic community. The priest invited us to Mass. I said, sure. So I come to Mass in robes. People who are walking with me were free to come or not. Then they offer communion. I'm in robes. So I go up to take communion. Priest says, you have to be Catholic to take communion. I said, I am. Then they offered me that wine. I said, no, don't drink alcohol. I tell you, people were so confused. And then the group said, oh, but you lied to him. Are you really Catholic? I said, what does all that mean? Was I breaking precepts or was I breaking concepts? We get locked into all these fixed ideas about how the world has to be okay. That we miss the beauty and truth of just being. I'm not enough. I desperately need more. Source of suffering.
Thank you for listening to this episode on Zalto Live. If you would like additional information, please look at the show notes or visit zalto.org. That's ZALTHO.org. Our work is made possible solely through donations, so please consider making a tax-deductible gift on our website. We wish you well and thank you.